A beautiful good morning here in Miami Beach. As beautiful as this trash can is, it is time to go. I've stayed here for quite a few days and honestly, the wallet is really not taking it very well. So today we hop on American Airlines first class, real first class, to London. Except just 10 minutes after I got on my bus, it broke down and I've been standing on the street side for almost a solid hour now. American infrastructure at its best.
346 minutes later.
First class check-in area is literally just a fenced off pen with sofas. It's so weird, and the people at the front were just like very rigorous at making sure I'm actually flying.
Many hours later.
It is finally time to head to the best part about this first class experience, which is the lounge. Because American Airlines first class is really nothing too much to brag about according to most of the reviews online. So let's go and try to, you know, make my way into the elusive first class flagship dining. Sounds pretty good. Since I was one of the rare first class passengers, I was escorted personally by the front desk receptionist and took many twists and turns past the plebeians who could not even afford to pay cash to buy first class. Can you possibly imagine that? Okay, that was just a joke because I couldn't even afford to fly in an economy. And I will tell you how I managed to get this first class ticket for less than economy a bit later. And as I entered this little room, I quickly realized this may be the best experience of flying first class on American Airlines. Not on the airplane, but on the ground. And let's take a look at the menu. There are so many pages and different things listed on these pieces of paper that I could have easily mistaken it as an old dictionary that has fallen apart. But if you take a closer look, there are so many different options on it, ranging from pork, beef, chicken, vegan, all the way to accommodating all kinds of dietary restrictions, and you can find highlighted ones as signature dishes that they are trying really hard to recommend it to me. And all of these are designed with local ingredients in mind, with celebrity chefs' touches. And I can definitely say this can rival any Michelin-starred restaurant outside of any airport any day of the week. And if you take a look of the extensive drink list, including all kinds of wines, champagnes, spirits, cocktails, and soft drinks, tea, coffee, you would probably faint from all of the options available to you. And not to mention, you have already seen there is a professional bartender sitting at the edge of the lounge, ready to prepare you any drink that you would want. This is a truly first-class dining experience, and I can say American Airlines have definitely aced it. Yeah, but the pressure is on because I was passing by the next table and someone left, and there was $100 bill sitting on top of the table just as the tip. I paid like less than $300 for this flight. Like, nah, not gonna tip that much. Well, normally I don't say fancy schmancy, but today is really fancy schmancy. Like, I really don't know what to do sometimes. And first class on American, they truly put a lot of effort into the dining, definitely. And this is today's amuse-bouche. And then the bread is like homemade bread. Oh, so cool. Look at this. Yeah, actual homemade bread. Like, not like even the top tier generic store bread. Like, they just made it themselves. Too fancy schmancy for me, definitely. And I got my drink is the Flagship lemonade. Thank you so much for watching, and cheers. That's for, what's that for? That's for thanking you for watching. And let's get everything started with a champagne, shall we? The signature champagne served by American Airlines First Class is also Grand Siècle, similar to my British Airways First Class experience linked on the top right. And needless to say, it is the good old golden standard. know a burger is good when they present it like this. When it's open-faced and you can see everything in there. Oh yeah, it's gonna be good. Okay, let's assemble this bad boy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Who needs fork and knives, right? Yeah, look at this. Oh no. Oh, medium well. I think that's the one they chose for me. Absolutely mind-blowingly nice. Oh, juicy but at the same time very soft. Good burger. It's very famous for a reason.
Round 2.
Well, according to my Asian mom, if you come to a buffet and you don't eat your money's worth, you are not family. Okay, like, I have to make sure that I do not get kicked out of my house. So, I got my second main course. Yeah, this is the korobuta pork chop. Oh, look at this. Beautiful. Can't even believe it's a pork chop if you tell me. How can I possibly forget about the myriad of desserts that was available to me? And trust me, although I was very eager to sample all of them, and being a first-class passenger, I was actually allowed to eat the entire menu, I was physically incapable of eating all of these calories. But don't worry, I'm practicing harder and harder every single day. Well, now that I left the dining area, which is really small, I'm just now in this Flagship Lounge, which is basically open to everyone who is flying long-haul business class. So it's really nothing that special, because all of those plebeians flying business class definitely do not deserve our attention, right? Yeah, check out these buffet spread. Huh. You have to build your own salad? What? There are no people who can build it for you? What kind of peasantry is this, huh? Well, but jokes aside, the refreshed American Airlines Flagship Lounge is way better than the Admirals Club before, which is on the other side. But still, nothing too much worth mentioning. You can see cleaning is still something that needs to be improved on, but at least the seating and ambiance are getting way better. Yeah, but that's all just whiff-whap of business class. We're flying first class today, so today I want to show you something else. Let's go on board American Airlines first class. After boarding, I surprisingly have to walk myself to the first class suite, which is very unusual for any other airline serving first class, as first class passengers are usually led personally by the purser into their seats. And you will quickly see that the ground dining experience was all but an outlier, since American Airlines is, in my mind, one of the worst first class products in the entire world, and the first impression of the seat definitely reflected that. While on the seats, you can see a pair of slippers and the really luxurious Casper bedding. On the table next to me, you can find the menu lying to the Amenity Kit, and behind it is a screen that only shows you the seat preset menu and nothing else. The noise-cancelling headphone is from Bang & Olufsen, and it was only mediocre quality and it pinched my hair more often than not. And the digital console to the left of my head was definitely showing the age of the seat, with multiple jacks that has been long out of use and a handheld console that oozes the early 2010 charms. But at least there is a mirror and a light that you can look at yourself and feel pretty. Right underneath the table surface are 3 buttons that control the light, the TV pop-up, as well as the table latch. And this first class seat has a gigantic table because it was designed with 2 people dining face to face in mind. And I can guarantee you that this might be one of the heaviest tray tables in the entire world. And to the right of the foot cubby, at the level of entertainment screen, is a coat hook. And all of the other space in front of me seemed to be wasted. And the seat ottoman also has a nice little pillow, a storage underneath, and surprisingly, the magazine rack behind it. And after examining the seat for a while, I found out that there is actually
actually another separate table that allows you to fold it up to have an even bigger surface to the left side of me. And in the beginning, I couldn't even barely understand how you're supposed to write things sideways. But it dawned on me. This entire seat probably has one of the weirdest gimmicks that I've only heard in mythology before. This thing swivels. Yes, the first class seat on American Airlines actually swivels from side to side. It has 3 different positions, facing straight to the front so you can feel that you are in the direction of the travel, facing slightly sideways so it is actually in line with the bed, and lastly, you can swing it to 90 degrees so you can open up the tray table and work properly with a proper office table and chair. This might be one of the wackiest gimmicks I have ever seen in the entire aviation industry, and needless to say, it is not very practical. The foot cubby when you swing the seat to the sideways is absolutely tiny, and the lack of Wi-Fi also made working on board practically impractical. However, it did bring in some downside. Since the seat swivels, it is constantly rattling because the seat mechanism do not lock in very well after tens of years of usage. Thus, it is less of a luxurious office chair but more of an involuntary massaging chair. But I had tons of fun swiveling my chair from left to right and right to left dozens upon dozens of times because I'm just a 7-year-old child living in an Asian guy's body. And now, talking about 7-year-old child, let's move on to the entertainment screen. This is also a very clear indication that the seat is very old. The screen is very slow to the touch and does not respond quickly at all, and sometimes the entire system just refuses to load and crashes in front of me. So needless to say, this seat cannot even remotely shine a light to the new first class products that came out in the last few years. But how about the amenity side? Opening up the Shinola branded Amenity Kit made of leather, it was rather disappointing to see that almost all of the things inside this kit was just standard fare. Besides your earplugs, dental kit, tissue, and some lip balm, there's also a pair of socks and an eye shade. And it is so boring that I guess the mouthwash is a highlight of the entire content. Yeah, this is definitely one of the worst first class amenity kits out there. But at least American Airlines does offer a set of pajamas to every single first class passenger on board. And I will talk about the comfort later in this flight. But right now, with everything locked and loaded, it is time for us to embark on our journey across the Atlantic. London, here we come! As we are slowly climbing out, it is time for me to review the dinner on board of this flight. And let me just warn ya, this is gonna go by real fast, because there's really not much noteworthy in American Airlines first class meals, surprisingly or unsurprisingly. So feel free to pause the video and take a closer look whenever you want. And of course, we have to begin with the menu. First up, we have the wine list. And this is just a shrinked version of the wine list on the ground in first class dining, so I'm not gonna go into detail too much. And delving into the menu proper, you're gonna find out that there are 4 options for the main courses, but there isn't much room for options for any other course during the meal. And before landing, we will also have a light breakfast. So on the menu side, it was already quite disappointing, especially for first class. And the meal service began with a little tray of warmed nuts as well as a nice little glass of Grand Siècle champagne. I feel like I'm drinking this champagne that costs more than $250 a bottle, more than an 8th grade kid drinking LaCroix and thinking it is alcohol. And the cold appetizer for this meal is a tomato tartare, which is especially weird given the fact that there is not a more substantial and less vegetarian option, since most of the other over-the-top first-class experiences often begin with a spoonful of caviar. And the salmon main dish is so boring that I forgot to even film until I was halfway through with this meal. The meat texture is extremely dry and hard to cut, and you can see me demonstrating the difficulty of even trying to penetrate this slab of junk. However, the American Airlines famous sundae definitely did not disappoint. Who knew that stuffing 3,500 calories in a small cup could taste so good? And after finishing the meal, I decided to go into the bathroom and change into my pajamas. And surprisingly, American Airlines decorated the first class bathroom with really beautiful finishes. The wooden trim carved out a very homey feel, despite the fact that they are not stocked properly and remained empty. And the pajamas provided is very smooth and comfortable, and definitely is an amenity fit for first class. And upon returning to my seat, I found out that my suite was prepared properly and made into a bed per my request. And beneath the comfortable pillow and duvet, there is actually a small mattress pad that is not exactly the thickest, but definitely enough for me to sleep through the entire flight. So I promptly turned down the light level and went into slumber. And oh, this is also the part that I need to remind you to like this video and also subscribe if you want to know how I managed to grab this deal for less than $350. Yes, you heard me right. I'm flying first class cheaper than economy. For the exact details, you'll have to check out the British Airways first class review I linked on the top right here. But the gist is that I'm very good at finding really cheap flights, and I post them on my community page all the time. So you should subscribe to my channel in order to get the newest updates. But anyways, the sweet dream is over and it is time to wake up for breakfast. I chose the fruit salad with a warm croissant, and you can see this is quite disappointing. This is one of the most standard business class meals I have ever seen, and yet I was flying in proper first class. This meal just lacks any of the pizzazz that comes with the over-the-top travel style, if you do not count this can of cranberry juice that has 106% of your daily sugar intake. Now I feel I'm flying the American Airlines. And after the meal, I decided to take a stroll around before we land. And I took a brief inspection of the business class behind me. And you can see that this seat is virtually identical to what I have in the first class, with a little bit less space but much better ergonomics. And in fact, with a better technology, I would say that in a lot of different aspects, this seat might be superior to my first class swiveling office chair. And this is not a surprise, given the fact that American Airlines has barely updated their first class product in the past decade, while the business class race was kept up with a very strong competition across the Atlantic. And since American Airlines does not do the first class extravagance very well, given the fact that their flight price are generally in the 5-digit range, and it became a widely available last-minute empty seats for non-revenue passengers only, the service and product definitely leaves a lot to be desired. And there is no sane person in their mind would choose American Airlines first class in regular price. And I am confident that in the first class cabin, the only person who was happy for what they have paid for must be me. Given the fact that I only forked out enough money to buy 2 chai lattes in a Starbucks in San Francisco. But at least American Airlines knows that their first class product is definitely the worst of the bunch. And they have officially declared that they will phase out their first class in the next few years. So think of this video less like a review but more like a tribute to the last true first class product in the United States. As I played with a little bar of chocolate handed to me, I have to apologize to you that this is actually not the end of the review, as we have to transit onto Iberia Airlines A350 business class for the short hop to Madrid. So let's continue into London. I guess I will also show you around the British Airways Gallery's first class lounge, because why not? And if you have watched the British Airways first class video from the last episodes, you'll be very disappointed to know that this is no Concorde room. Even though first class is in its name, it is definitely not where you want to be if you are flying British Airways first class out of Heathrow. While the decorations are very beautiful, as you can see that there is a lot of beautiful light fixtures in the center of every single room, they are not exactly the most practical in any sense. Well, I guess there's nothing more bizarre than the British Airways signature horse with a lamp on its head, because apparently after living in these gloomy islands for so long, your sense of taste, smell, as well as artistic expression has completely changed to an unfathomable deep dark gray hull. But guess what? This is actually the better part of the lounge. One of the biggest issues of British Airways is its severe crowding problem, as there are more elite members departing from Heathrow than there are real estate agents in Upper East Side in Manhattan Island. I've never found these first-class lounges to be especially comfortable given the lack of privacy. But at least here is a screen that shows you how many of these deep sleep pods made by 40 Winks is currently occupied. But hey, at least it is not too full that I have to share the bed with a stranger eating a plate of lasagna. Oh, and talking about food, this video was filmed in February of 2022, so I guess it was still technically the pandemic era for British Airways. Almost all of the displays that were normally in place as a buffet spread is completely empty, save for a large selection of fruits as well as an array of coffee machine with a selection of pastries. Nearly all of the hot food cannot be obtained directly, but instead you have to scan a special QR code with your phone on your table and then order these foods on a very complicated mobile system. And let's just say that the pandemic provided British Airways an excellent opportunity to cut costs, as almost all of these food are extremely bland. Okay, the food may not taste the best, but how about the alcohol? I'm pleasantly surprised to report that almost all of the alcohol are sufficiently stocked and they are of great quality. There is a wide selection of white, red as well as champagne, free-flowing in almost every single room in the lounge, and I gladly indulged in this form of calorie since it is way better than the plain boiled rice they have served me ad nauseum when I was at the table. And with the free-flowing alcohol, time passed real fast, and it is time for me to board my Iberia A350 towards Madrid. I know, you're here for the first class review, as cultured people like us are above mere business class, so I will make this really quick. Are you ready for the fastest business class review in the entire YouTube history? Because here we go. Upon boarding the flight, I found myself seated at the seat 4H, an aisle seat that can turn into a flatbed. To the left side of me is the seat control as well as the remote entertainment console. And here is a demonstration of the size of the footwell. And you can see the privacy is not exactly the greatest. And because of its staggered design, there's also a small pathway between me as well as the other aisle seat in the middle. While it is too narrow to pass through, it does house a small magazine rack as well as a panel that has all of the outlets. Towards the upper part above the table surface, you can also find a large storage space that is not enclosed at all. And continuing on the left side, the armrest can surprisingly be lifted for more comfort. And the table is a large one piece that can be swiveled down and be pivoted against one single hinge. Forget about folding table, how about a spinning table? Technology side, the noise cancelling earphone that they provided is not exactly the greatest. And the screen on this A350 is surprisingly not modern, given the fact that it lags more than a 12-year-old kid playing Call of Duty on their family yearly cruise trip in the Caribbean. But you do get 30 minutes of free Wi-Fi with an abysmal data limit of 20 megabytes, which is perfect to open 2 cat memes and stare at them for 3 hours each. So I have no complaints here. And after watching the takeoff through this middle-aged banker, the dinner was served. The Dough & Co partnership truly shines here as the catering is very impressive for such a short flight. The dish itself is very tasty and looks extremely beautiful, albeit it is a little bit overcooked. And the bathroom on board is just a standard issue airplane bathroom, without any of the bells and whistles that comes in the first class. So all in all, this Iberia A350 business class product is perfectly fine for such a short flight to Madrid, but it'll be quite mediocre when they deploy these planes on some of their longest routes such as Los Angeles. Hope you have enjoyed this review of Iberia business class and, of course, American Airlines first class that is about to disappear. And if you did enjoy this video, please consider clicking the like button and also subscribe if you want to follow me all around the world flying business class and first class. I also produce a lot of vlogs and interesting stories I encountered around the world. So why don't you follow me into Madrid in the next episode where I talk about one of the largest secrets hidden in plain sight in one of the largest plazas, and hopefully I'll see you there.
Make you shriek, yeah, your heart starts